A state of emergency has been declared in the South American nation of Ecuador as protests against diesel price hikes have turned violent down in South America. Really sad stuff this, guys, but of course it's always important to bring you these kind of news announcements just to see what's going on in the world of the automotive industry, and obviously that extends to the fuel that we use to power our cars as well. But why have people been protesting against the price hike of diesel? How bad has it been down there? Let's have a look at what's been happening, guys, because I think things have been very much bubbling away for some time now down in Ecuador. I mean, there's been a bit of a crisis when it comes to politics there, the Prime Minister or the President or whatever they have there, not being particularly popular at the moment. Then again, I guess who's Prime Minister or President is at the moment. But let's have a look at what's been happening, guys. Yeah, really sad this has happened, but why have the people been taken to the streets, and why has violence erupted over diesel? Full story for you here on the channel as always. The president of Ecuador, Daniel Noboa, on Tuesday implemented a 60-day state of emergency in an attempt to quell massive protests that have broke out following his surprise removal of a diesel subsidy last week. The decree was issued across 7 of the nation's 24 provinces following severe internal disturbance and mobilized armed forces and national police. The US Embassy in Ecuador said in a statement that the forces were mobilized in order to prevent the interruption of public services and maintain freedom of movement for the general population. The declaration does not restrict public movement or institute a curfew, but it does suspend the right of freedom of assembly at all times or any gatherings that seek to interrupt services and impede the rights and liberties of the rest of the population. That coming as per the US Embassy in Quito. Footage of the protest showed Ecuadorians clashing with police forces in the capital city of Quito on Tuesday as protesters dismantled fences and barriers while police fired tear gas into the streets. Despite the unrest, the State Department has not adjusted its travel advisory status for Americans hoping to go to Quito. For Americans hoping to go to Ecuador, which currently advises Americans to exercise increased caution and avoid large crowds where violence could erupt. The ongoing clashes came after the government on Friday announced it would eliminate the nation's diesel subsidy starting Saturday and redirect the funds to social programs in an attempt to alleviate the country's straining finances. For decades, the diesel subsidy represented a $1.1 billion burden on fiscal accounts, without truly reaching those who need it, the government said on social media site X. If I am not mistaken as well, I do believe Ecuador does use the US dollar for its currency as well, so that's why these are all in US dollar amounts. The decree drove up the price of diesel overnight from $1.80 a gallon to $2.80 a gallon, ending a decades-old subsidy in a move that previously attempted but publicly opposed during prior administrations. I mean, that is a lot. That's an increase of over 50%. There would be riots in the States if that happened. You know, I always remember someone saying to me, if the price of gasoline in the US went up by $1 or $2 per gallon, the president sitting at that time would not be re-elected as a result. So yeah, that's a lot. That's a big change for people. The government argued that the subsidy was not being adequately distributed and disproportionately benefited higher income individuals and business sectors more than it was aiding vulnerable populations. Noboa's administration said it will use the funds saved from the subsidy removal and allocate $220 million towards the transportation sector to prevent fare increases in public transport. So they've made a cut. So effectively, they've made a cut to them funding the discounts for gasoline to then redirect it to public transport so they can get the same gas prices they had before. I'm no economist, but that seems a bit counterproductive. But Ecuadorians remain concerned that it will directly impact the pockets of the nation's poorest. A price stabilization mechanism will be implemented on December 11th, reported by Reuters, in a move to protect consumers from global price swings, though details on the plan remain unclear. So, yeah, I must admit, that seems like a shaky thing to do because the fact is, there will be people that are so poor that they cannot afford cars. There will also be people that can only just afford a vehicle and afford to fuel it. Increasing the price of diesel, that will very much mean that these people cannot afford one anymore. So it could well disadvantage the poorest Ecuadorians. Yeah, I mean, it's good to get more funding for social programs and all that, but if people can't get from A to B and can't get to their job because they can't afford to refuel their vehicle with diesel, that's also really bad and probably worse, to be honest. So your thoughts in the comments below, guys. I want to hear what you have to say on this as always. Who's in the right here, the protests or the government? I want to hear what you have to say. Like, share, comment, subscribe, guys. See you soon for much more content on the world of cars just like this.